Welcome to another edition of Jovian Collisions. Jovian Collisions is where we bring people together so that we can bring these parts together and do business together, okay? So this event here is a special edition of Jovian Collisions. It's a part of a movement for a new future. The movement for a new future is a movement where we put together partners like JUPTER, Founder Institute, and the United States Embassy and consulates across Brazil and other countries now in Latin America, so that we can incentivize and identify and give support to startups that are doing the things that are necessary as of now going into the future. So forgetting about the past and building real products that solve real problems for the future that we are all kind of living in now, and we are going to in the near future as well. So this here is an event brought to you by the Founder Institute and JUPTER together. I'll first explain to you basically the Founder Institute is the world's largest startup accelerator. And even in Brazil now, we are the largest startup accelerator. We've ran more than 53 cohorts of the program since launching in Brazil in 2015, so in about 5 years. We've done this in over 12 cities. We're opening the 13th and the 14th city right now as well. So we're launching a semester in Vitória, Espírito Santo, and in Uberlândia in Minas Gerais soon as well, which will bring us to 14 cities. We've helped over 1,200 entrepreneurs find out if entrepreneurship is right for them. And out of these 1,200 or about 1,500 actually entrepreneurs by now, more than 300 of these people have actually graduated from the program. And these founders are now running startups in the Brazilian market. And this is thanks to over 1,200 mentors who support these entrepreneurs during the program and after the program, some of whom you'll meet today during this event. So the Founder Institute has a core program of 4 months that lasts 4 months. It's basically 1 night per week for 14 weeks. The program is devised in 2 different tracks, a launch track and a growth track. In the launch track, we help entrepreneurs who might be part-time or have a full-time team, but might not yet have a fully functioning company with a product and lots of revenue yet. So these are people who just have an idea, or they just have a small team and they're just starting to put a product into the market. So we've got a launch track for you to validate, build your team, and go to market. And then we've got a growth track. That's for people who are full-time. You've got a product in the market, you've got a company set up, maybe you've got some sales, maybe you've got some small initial investment. So we help you focus on traction and for your next funding round so that you can have a more successful time building your next fundraising round. During the COVID-19, during the pandemic period, while everybody's at home, we've been able to migrate, we've been successfully migrating our program to 100% virtual experience. So before, most of the program was already virtual, as we are a data-centric company and we're based on a digital platform, but the actual meetings were done physically in physical space. In order to avoid the spread and stop the spread basically and keep you healthy, what we're doing is we're running all of the sessions now online. And what we're doing is we're doing taking some additional steps to help you with that. So we're doing extra sessions with Founder Institute Brazil leaders and mentors. We're also doing extra sessions with the Founder Institute in Silicon Valley, giving you more office hours, so more access to our mentors in the program. And you can access mentors from anywhere now, since the program is virtual and you're not limited to the physical presence of people around you. We've got some final application deadlines coming up, and I suggest you run if you're in one of these cities, or if you're close by one of these cities, or if you just want to run your startup through any of one of our programs in one of these cities. And Rio de Janeiro, May 1st is the final deadline. São Paulo is the 31st of May. Then we've got a program in English, Start Local, Go Global, which is the program that is actually supporting this event here today. And that's a program in English. The deadline is July 19th. We've got a program in Porto Alegre, Belo Horizonte, with the 26th of July being the final deadlines for those. 2nd of August is the next program in Curitiba, 9th of August in Campinas, and the 31st in Salvador, with a series of other cities that are coming up with new semesters and new cities that we're still opening up. So this program today, guys, is a special event, part of the Movement for the New Future, which is an event run by the Start Local Go Global. Start Local Go Global is a special edition of the Founder Institute in partnership with JUPTER, which is geared towards you entrepreneurs from anywhere in Latin America, not just Brazil, but anywhere in Latin America, who are looking to build a global company from day one. The English is run entirely in English. The program is run entirely in English and virtually. So you can access it from anywhere in Latin America. We've got some fellowships that you can apply for. Fellowships are basically ways that the best applicants can do the program without paying the course fee. So there's a Frontier Technology Fellowship for those of you who are taking outer boundary ideas and bringing forward technologies of the future. For female founders, there's a fellowship. For those of you who participate in a NASA Space Apps Challenge, either last year or the one that's coming up soon, stay tuned for that. You also might qualify for a fellowship. And those of you who participated in the last Startup Weekend, the virtual one that just occurred now, a lot of you guys are going to qualify for one of 12 or more fellowships that were given across Brazil for that program. Now we've got some special edition fellowships for this special period that we are in, right? So we're in this sort of like a pandemic, which represents itself as the duality of crisis and opportunity. So those of you who are taking on the public health sector and who are building solutions to cure, prevent, or mitigate threats to the public health, we're going to offer you fellowships. This is probably the simplest type of fellowship for you to get if you've got an idea that's solving a health prevention, cure, or mitigation problem. Talents for a New Future is an initiative that's part of the Movement for a New Future, where we're noticing that some of the startups in our network and also in the friends networks and our mentors and partners networks are having a little bit of challenges maintaining some of their top talents. So they're actually laying off some of these talents. But we understand these are very smart and capable people. So what we want to do is we want to offer some of these people who want to launch a new company fellowships through all our Brazil cities. And then those of you who don't want to start a new company but want to work at a startup, we're still sharing the opportunity and your name and your position across different companies in our network so they can hire you. These are some of the partners behind Founder Institute Brazil. So JUPTER is a venture partner in Founder Institute across the network. We've got the special initiatives like NASA Space Apps and Start Local Go Global, which we went over. We've got a series of globalization partners. So if you're looking to go global, we've got that set up for you. A growing list of ecosystem partners and investment partners who you're going to find out more as we go forward as well. One of the investment partners who we hope to close a partnership with today, you're going to meet them as well today. And then we've got a series of legal partners, right? Because to start a company, you need lawyers and you need to build your company legally in your jurisdiction. Previously, you could basically only do this in your own city. So the partners came from cities and they would basically have a territory in the city. As of now, because the program's virtual, you're able to access any of our 7 preferred legal partners who actually support our program and our founders officially across any of the cities. So any of the Brazil cities, you can count on these legal partners to help you with your legal matters, whether you're building a local company or a global company. So we've got some upcoming events that I want to make sure you know about. Tomorrow, we've got this Female Founder Roundtable for building the post-COVID-19 world. Also tomorrow, my dear partner, Bruno Seskin, who's also a director in Founder Institute and also a co-founder of JUPTER, will be together with a series of leaders of the Curitiba investment ecosystem. And this is done by the Curitiba Development Agency. This event, don't miss it if you're looking to build that. It's going to be in Portuguese though, so you have to speak Portuguese. And this is the new surprise, guys. On May 5th, we're going to be graduating the first ever virtual class of the Founder Institute in Brazil. It's going to be the demo day of the Curitiba Founder Institute. And this one's going to feature Brazil's most prolific angel investor, João Kepler. If you don't know who that is, go and find out, and you can catch the event in Portuguese. João's going to talk to us about a future of investments in Brazil. And then he's also going to look at, together with you, the pitches from the founders who will be graduating from the class. And by the way, to all of our speakers who are here today, who I'll introduce to you in a little bit, and all of you guys who are watching, welcome to this massive transformative movement. Now you are a part of it, whether you like it or not, just because you've heard it, okay? So we are here to make Brazil happen. We're also here to make Latin America happen as of now. And in Brazil, we've targeted 100,000 jobs that we want to create through our graduate companies and the companies in our network. So thank you for being a part of creating 100,000 jobs as of today. And without further ado, I'm going to take this moment to thank our speakers and participants, our panelists today, and everybody who's watching. And I'm going to introduce to you guys briefly, and then have them give you a better introduction themselves, some of my new friends and old friends and mentors of the Founder Institute and JUPTER network. So we've got, first of all, a new surprise. JUPTER is very proud, I'm very proud to present to you guys our newest venture partner in JUPTER, a veteran in the venture capital industry in Brazil, Humberto Matsuda, who used to be the founder and the managing director of Performa Investimentos, is now a venture partner in JUPTER Adventures, our investment arm. And Humberto is here with us today. And then we've got Ricardo Sanguion, who is a vice president of growth from Venture City, an entity who's looking to enter the Brazilian market and invest in a bunch of Brazilian and Latin American startups and take them global. And also Brazil's favorite mentor and one of my favorite players in the Brazilian ecosystem, Edson McKenzie, one of the guys who really inspires and helps most of the startups in this country move forward. So why don't we take a moment to have Humberto give us a minute and talk about yourself. Humberto, thank you again for joining our team and bringing this awesome reputation on board. Why don't you take a few minutes to tell us more about yourself and today's event?
Thanks, Nima. First of all, thank you very much for inviting me for this talk. I'm very proud and very excited not only to be here today, but also becoming a venture partner for JUPTER. We've been flirting on doing something for the past few years now, and finally that day has come. I think that the Brazilian market have been evolving gradually ever since we first met, and we've been discussing, you, myself, and Bruno, about how things are and were and could be, right? And more important out of everything else is I believe that we are finally working collectively towards a better goal, a better environment, a better ecosystem, right? So myself, I've been involved in venture capital investments in general for the past a little over 15 years now. You can tell for the lack of hair, as opposed to having at least gray hair, right? But it has been fun. I know Edson for a long time. We've been pushing around stuff and talking and advocating and demanding and crying and doing all kinds of stuff for a long time now. I won't tell your age, Mac. We've been seeing the evolution of the Brazilian ecosystem since what we call the new startup environment. I've been involved in, I was blessed to be involved in so many different aspects of the ecosystem, from the entrepreneurial side, the first generation of accelerators, the newest generation of the players, I would say. I wouldn't dare to call them specifically accelerators no more. Most of the former accelerators only are now becoming something else, all of them, no exceptions. The corporate ones, the self-made ones. Venture capital has been evolving, so I've been also not only a managing partner of a venture capital fund, but I've been involved in the Venture Capital Association, a board member at the Angel Capital Association, Anjos do Brasil, been speaking in several different conferences, been involved in deals not only in Brazil, but also all over Latin America, US, and Israel. And more recently, I've been working with several family offices, not only from Brazil, but also a few family offices from Latin America, US, investing also in other funds, venture capital, private equity funds, also worldwide. So thanks to be invited here to be able to share some of my experience and more than anything else to learn from you guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you for entering the Jovian orbit. And now, you know, I want to, first of all, Ricardo, I'm gonna congratulate you on having made such an excellent decision. Okay, because you brought the right guy on board. I can guarantee that for you. You know, as someone who just came in and impartially, you know, Mac and I have had no business before, right, Mac? The only thing we did was watch each other from afar. And this guy inspires more entrepreneurs in Brazil than almost anybody I've seen. So I'm very proud and happy for you guys to have brought on such a top gun, you know, to help with capturing the best entrepreneurs at the right stage, inspiring them, and then helping them build that. So I want to first of all take a moment to introduce and thank you, Edson Mackenzie, the great Mac, the great mentor of Brazilian startups. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, the great introduce did I went to breathe about this. I'm really glad to invite me. I'm really glad to be here, all of my friends, and congratulations you and Jupiter and everybody in Founder Institute to support our ecosystems. My role is just share some contents, just share some knowledge, just share my little bit experience to these guys. So nobody work alone, nobody stay alone here. Just working together. You, Matsuda, Ricardo, Paloma, Bruno, everybody here is supporting a lot our ecosystems. My job is just have a little bit voice and just sharing. So I'm really glad, I'm really excited to be here with you. Thank you so much.
And natural Jovian talk there. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And Ricardo, it's a pleasure to meet you today virtually for the first time. I mean, before it was just on email and stuff. And right now, finally, we put a pretty face to the name, right? We see this guy here with that beautiful hair and beard. I don't know how you're going to maintain that during the quarantine, but for now, it looks great. Welcome, Ricardo. And congratulations on again entering the Brazilian market with such a strong format and strong team.
Thank you very much, Nima. Indeed, Mark is a great guy. He's like loved by everyone. So to have him, I started on him. So I'm very happy. So I totally agree with you. Regarding my hair, I usually get it cut every month. So yeah, talking a little bit about myself, I was a designer and also a developer on my early career days, but then I moved to product management and business development on the mobile ecosystem. So I worked for mobile operators for 10 years here in Brazil, Vivo and Claro, doing product management and business development. And then I had another cycle of 10 years helping American companies to expand to Latin America. So I did this for Electronic Arts, the game publisher. I did it for Facebook. So I started the operations here, growing the user base, removing Orkut from their dominance. Then I worked for Microsoft, helping them with the expansion of Bing, their search engine in Latin America. And before joining the Venture City, I was for 4 years head of Latin America for Pinterest. So my experience was more on the corporate side, but throughout these 20 years or more, I was always working very closely with the startups, just because the startups were the ones helping these big companies, the mobile operators, Facebook, Pinterest, with innovation. They were bringing their payment systems, they were developers of the apps and the games. So I was working very closely, but not inside. So a year ago, I was invited to join the team of the Venture City, taking care of our seed investment for the Americas. So from Canada down to Argentina. And beginning of the year, we were very happy to know that Mac was also joining the team. So that's what we're here for, seed investment. We can give more details for the ones interested, just ping us and be happy to share. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Wow, well, thank you for being here today with us. Holy cow, man. Electronic Arts, Microsoft, Facebook, and I missed one there, right?
Pinterest.
Pinterest. Oh my God. Yeah. So Pinterest I don't use, so I didn't really. Maybe that's why, right? But not to take anything away from that. But
Lima, it's not just Ricardo, but all our team is great. Is our team in the Venture City is great. We have almost 50 people in huge experience. So Ricardo is great. Your biography, your experience is great, but all our team is really great. I'm so happy to be together. These so great stars.
Well, Max, do you know why I know Venture City is the right company and has the right people? Because they got you in there, and I know you. So when you look at the right people, the best people bring the best people together. Okay, so as the Apple used to say, or I think it was Steve Jobs in Apple who used to say there, or Kawasaki who used to say it at Apple, right? He was like, if you get type A, grade A people, then you get more grade A people together with them. Once you go to grade B people, then those people bring grade C and grade D and grade E people. So if you've got grade A people, right away I see Mac, I know he's grade A. So I know everyone else in there has to be, you know, at that level. So I mean, it translates, and now we get to know why. Like we see, you know, Ricardo's background as well, and it's like, holy cow, man, you know, I wish I knew this guy years ago so he can start mentoring our program, you know, 5 years ago. So glad to know you now, and we can do that here. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys see as the scenario for investments changing. And by the way, Ricardo, you said that you start all the way from Canada to Brazil, or down south all the way to Uruguay, right? So I'm here right now in Canada. I'm in Toronto, and I'm here with you guys in Brazil, working virtually. So I want to know, like, what you guys are thinking in terms of how the scenario changed. And Ricardo, you can go first, and then we'll ask Humberto the same thing as well, from the JUPTER point of view. But first of all, the Venture City point of view. What do you think has changed drastically so far in terms of how investment decisions are made? Because you guys just started entering the Brazilian market and the Latin American market, and then suddenly now this change comes apart. JUPTER 2, new company, just a couple of years in, suddenly everything changes.
Yeah.
What do you see is going to come out of all of this?
Good. I'll try to be very short. I'll share 3 or 4 points that we see as trends everywhere. We also have operations in Europe. We have an office in Madrid. So we have half and half of our investment here in the Americas and also in Europe. So what we have seen is, on the investors' side, a higher bar. So especially for early stage startups, they are doing deeper investigations, deeper due diligence. So they need to care more about what they're going to put their money on, just because like you can't put a money on something that in 3 months won't be there anymore, right? So that is one big change. So it will be more difficult. It will take probably longer for some of the early stage startups to be able to convince and show the potential for the investors. On the founder side, what we have seen is that everybody, they are now paying a lot more attention to their burn, to the cost, to the amount of money that they are using every month. So in the recent past, we were all saying that it was easy to raise money, that capital was available. So people were like, of course, bringing a ton of people in the team, but also perhaps they were using the money on many experiments that weren't the best ones, right? Just because money was there, and no problem with that. But now what we see is that you need to take more care, right? So you need to prolong your runway. So you need to spend less and do a better use of every cent that you spend. We're going to face a long period of uncertainty. And I mean, people are trying to figure it out, how it's going to be the new behavior and what are the old behaviors that will disappear or be reinforced. And I think like there is the easy ones that everybody is betting. And there are those that everybody thinks is going to happen, but it won't. So it's really difficult, right? Everything that we hear from different people on like investment on stock exchange, if it was easy to predict the future, everybody would be rich. So in some cases, I take a chance on saying how it's going to be. In other cases, I think that we'll be surprised with some of the behaviors that will think they're going to be there, and perhaps they won't. Like, of course, some of the technology changes, like many people receiving their first digital bank account, many people having to download their first app. This is going to impact. This is going to increase the speed on the learning curve. But yeah, I think it's a good thing for debate, the new normal.
Well, those are actually kind of relieving answers, because I always hear that I'm a cyborg because I live in the future. People always tell me that, you know, my timing is way far ahead. So now I'm loving this answer you gave me. It means that we're accelerating to get to some of the things that we've been preparing our company for. So Humberto, why don't you tell us a little bit more from the investor side on that end as well?
Brazilian investors or worldwide investors?
Just general sense. I mean, whoever's building a globally focused startup today is probably looking to raise funding at some point in the near future. So
Right.
how do you feel that the scenario has changed, and how do you feel that they can basically look at setting themselves up for this?
Well, so we have the major trends such as interest rates going down here in Brazil that is pushing most of the traditional long-term investors towards alternative investments, right? Fixed income has becoming less and less attractive. Real estate has been becoming quite crowded. So venture capital, private equity, and even hedge funds are becoming more popular these days. Obviously, with the pandemic, things have been a little bit, I would say, complicated. We've been seeing a lot of debate regarding if the investors are keeping up the pace or not, and all those issues regarding angel investors mostly. But the truth is, on a global scale, it is quite difficult to move money to different geographies during the pandemic. We haven't been seeing any foreign investors deploying a lot of money outside their own countries. Most of the investments that are occurring are still investments that were negotiated prior to the pandemic, as opposed to things that were decided after it started. But at the same time, if we think, and we know that the pandemic won't last forever, even if it lasts longer than we expect, eventually it will cease. And then we will be probably in a position that there's going to be a lot of people quite thirsty for new opportunities, for all kinds of perspectives or expectations for returns, terms. We'll be seeing a lot of people looking not only short-term investments, but long-term investments. And I believe that it is going to be a great opportunity for the top entrepreneurs to raise money. That said, most likely the scenario of valuations should be on a much smaller overall medium, I would say. Most of the funds that are able to write larger checks are reevaluating their strategy, reevaluating their investment thesis. Probably foreign international commerce will be harder. So people dealing with actual assets moving to from all kinds of directions are going to have some headaches to solve. But still, the major trends that were effective prior to the pandemic will still be there. Logistics, healthcare, biotech, AI, all those things are still going to be the hottest industries that most investors are going to be eager to invest in. The top companies or the trendy companies that will arise are from those industries, right? But there's going to be a fundamental shift, in my humble opinion, in the way that people will be taking the next step for their lives. Meaning, until the pandemic, Silicon Valley was the place for any person with above average skills, right? If you could dream about having a better job, working for an impressive company, probably you would be thinking moving to Silicon Valley, eventually working for a great startup or tech company. After the pandemic and the way the things were shifted, I would say, I think there's going to be a lot more talented being kept in their own countries. I think it will be there's going to be a lot of talent being retained all over the world. Silicon Valley won't be the only place where talented people will be expecting to land a job. Therefore, there should be in the, I wouldn't say the short term, but midterm, a lot of companies, great companies that could have been a Silicon Valley company or startup being established in France, in Canada, Brazil, Chile, and anywhere else, right? Because we're never about having top quality people, the best Brazilians or the best Iranians, the best wherever. People were just as good as the people in Silicon Valley, but the concentration of talent were lower. And Silicon Valley was attracting way more people to work there as opposed to other cities, right? So that will, I hope and I expect that to change. And it will make Brazil more interesting, not only Brazil, but the rest of the world, good places for good companies, for the good entrepreneurs. So this is going to be really exciting.
Well, I love that final point you made, and Mac, I'll get to you right now in a second, but Humberto, I love that final point you made, because for 10 years now, since the inception of the Founder Institute, we've been saying we are here to globalize Silicon Valley, and people think we want to take that place and put it places, but it's really the ideology that we want to take places. And I think now through the pandemic, we're literally living that reality where it doesn't matter where you are. You can now build a great company from anywhere in the world, just basically having that mentality, which was Silicon Valley, of like being above par performance, working harder, looking further into the future, and having a more ambitious vision or goal. So I want to go to Max now, and Max, so these guys just told us about a little bit more about the investor development side, right? But you're the guy who knows founders best. So tell us more about that.
Yeah, just for indeed to Beto, from my side on the Venture City, we keep investing. In March, we invested in 4 seed stage startups. This month, we did a $3 million Series A in Simply Road from startup from Chile. So we're working a lot here.
That's great to know, and that's what we're expecting. So entities that are prepared, this is the time for us, right? So, keeping our burn rates low, being ready for taking advantage of opportunities, and moving fast. So that's literally right now you got to move faster than ever, right? So Edson, you and I, Mac, you and I are on the. I know Mac likes he prefers being called Mac more than Edson. That name's the Mac, right? So
Depends
you
on
and
the
I,
time.
yeah. So you and I are more on the founder development side of things. So I call this marketplace investor development and founder development instead of just customer development. So that's what we do. So you and I are more on the founder development side of things. So tell me a little bit more about what you think would prepare better founders for this new environment, and how you feel that founders can prepare themselves for raising funding and going to you guys at Venture City, and how can they open the conversation? What types of founders do you want to see? What types do you not want to see?
I think it's a big challenger for everybody, investors, entrepreneurs, and all ecosystems. Uh, Sometimes we met some entrepreneurs is so high, so really prepared, but don't have a lot of time to networkings or go to events or make some networkings. And this guy is pretty hard to meet. For now, I think the Brazilian entrepreneurs, our culture don't support us. For my side, I learn English by myself, watching movies, reading something, and my English is not pretty good, but I don't have afraid to be here, to be talking, to be support other entrepreneurs. Uh, Sometimes I met the entrepreneurs that have a good idea, have a pretty good business model, but have a little bit doubts, have a little bit issues, and sometimes lost a lot of opportunities. And for our side in the Venture City, we really love these guys. We love because nobody likes it. Nobody invests in time to these guys. Nobody explain how these guys, how the world is working. And that's our part. So for us in the Venture City, we, Ricardo and everybody here, starts the growth program just it. We just growth program to help these founders to reach the best business model you have.
That's great. That's a great answer. And it actually relieves me in terms of Founder Institute and JUPTER, because we're really good at identifying entrepreneurs who have a good founder market fit. And we put them through the test for that. So they go through a series of steps, basically, and we use a scientific method so that, and I know Ricardo likes that, scientific method so that we can't get sort of that like PowerPoint deck founder, you know. We have founders who are actually doing the work, and they do the work until it's annoying, and then they have to do more, and then they have to do more, and they have to do more. So we really identify who's really serious about the idea they're going to build and whether they are the right fit for that idea. And then we help them basically get the right people around them to build that company. So Venture City is a perfect partner for that sort of a scenario. So yeah, I mean, I love what you said there, and that's really the point, Mac. It's really the point there. So guys, the people who are watching here, if you've got other questions that you want to ask, please ask them in the Q&A section so that I can ask them. Otherwise, I'm just going to go through the list of questions that people sent in before. So Ricardo, tell us a bit more about the process by which you guys at Venture City like to see startups, and then how can startups basically apply?
Good. So Mac is the friend of the founders. So he, as you said, he's the one that represent the founders inside the Venture City. So founders don't have to be afraid. If they never talked to a VC before, when they talk to Mac, they will find another founder there. So they can talk anything. And if we think that it's the right time for the Venture City, we'll be happy to put through the process that I'll explain. But if they're not, Mac will find a route for them. We'll get them to Founder Institute. We'll recommend them to other programs, to other angels, to other VCs. So we're here to really help the ecosystem. We we review on an ongoing basis every company that applies for the program that we have, that is the seed investment, but also for companies that are trying to talk to us for the Series A, Series B investment. So every single company, just reach out to us, talk to Mac, talk to me, send us an email through our website, theventure.city, and we will get back to you. If you're looking for our growth program, which is our seed investment, it's $100K and 5 months of really hands-on and intense help from our experts that are everywhere in the world, but they work for the Venture City. You can apply directly on our website. We have like 8 or 9 very simple questions. We ask for your deck. We ask some other pretty easy information that you have in your head, and it's done. We review it every single week, and we'll always get back to you. What is interesting is even if that company is not a great fit for us at that moment, we'll explain why. So we have that rule here inside that we never give empty no's. So we'll never put a goal for you and say, when you get to this MRR, then we can start talking. We'll say different things because just having a goal is not enough for the founder to learn something. That is good, okay, but what can you do differently? Why didn't we like? Because here we're betting on companies. We're here to help them to get at that goal of the MRR. So please feel free, don't be afraid, reach out. We're more than happy to meet with founders. We learn a ton from them as well. So we are always trying to give it back to the community.
Wow, that's a great answer. Wow, that's very inviting, Ricardo. So that's what I kind of felt with Venture City ever since the acquisition of a talent like Mac, because I know he's a guy who's always open to founders, and he helps like even the most lost people find their way. So, you know, that's what always inspired me about it. And when I saw that he went over to Venture City, I kind of felt that about you guys, that you're not there to have that, you know, traditional VC mindset, but you're there to really help people get there, get to the point where they're supposed to. And it's great, you know, when founders come to you guys and they're not prepared or they're not ready, you send them back to the Founder Institute and we'll prepare them for you. Because that's what we do. That's our specialty, right? So from Humberto, I want to know from yourself, Humberto, what kind of startups or founders do we like to see? Like how do we like to see entrepreneurs come to us? What is it something that was a turn on or a turn off from Humberto's point of view, within or without Jupiter? I mean, in all the ways.
It is hard to answer that in the sense that when you have a specific stage to investing, then you can probably build a better profile of the person or the kind of entrepreneur you're looking for. But since I left Performa, I'm blessed to be able to invest in all kinds of companies size-wise and all kinds of stages. So by the end of the day, I'm actually looking for teams that are incredible in some manner. They could be more experienced, they could be brilliant by knowing, being educated on some kind of science or having PhDs, postdoctorals, basically a set of people who collectively can accomplish things that most people can't, right? As long as they have that kind of mindset, that kind of ability, it's always possible to work on the funding side and build on top of that. We can always hire talented people that can support the uniqueness, right? So as long as we can find or identify among the entrepreneurs, the founders of a specific company, that kind of a uniqueness, that kind of a special talent, magic, I would say, we can work on and build on top of that.
I like that answer a lot because you just described what a Jovian is, you know. Jovian, by the way, Jovian, for those of you, a lot of people ask me what's Jovian and what is this thing. Jovian is to Jupiter akin to Martian is to Mars. So if you're from Jupiter or one of the Jovian planets, like Saturn and Neptune are also in the group of Jovian planets, you're a Jovian. So, and when this event here, so Jovians can collide. So when we collide, they become one and they become part of the magnet and they attract more talents to that. So,
and Jovians, by definition, can take on extreme pressure, right? So all those planets, they can shape entrepreneurs to a much higher level and build the kind of entrepreneurs we're looking for.
There you go. Exactly. You just described it that way. So Humberto, you just described something to me, and also Ricardo said something to me that kind of like hit me in this. So recently I've started to, I'm always about minimalism, you know, taking things and minimizing them because, you know, I come from computer science. So things that are like very vague and ambiguous, they bother me and I want to put systems to play. So one of the things that I've noticed is that there are two types of founders. There are the ones who have a fixed mindset, and they are the ones who have a growth mindset. And if I can sum up everything that Ricardo and Humberto just said, we want the ones with a growth mindset. We want the ones who are okay with making errors as long as they are willing to improve themselves every time that they identify an error, instead of shying away from it and trying to defend against, you know, sort of a feedback. So I want to go to Mac. Mac is a growth mindset guy. Ever since I've met this guy, you know, and everybody who is attracted to him is a growth mindset guy. So Mac, tell us a little bit more about these founders who you really like for basically for investment or for help, for mentoring generally.
So in general, when I met the entrepreneurs, they has a lot of doubts, since the beginning, since how I explain my idea, how can I develop the pretty good business model. When I met these guys, first I told these guys, be resilient because the entrepreneur is the guy must be resilient in your idea and focusing and bring more contract, bring more clients, focusing in developing your brand, not just a marketing, not just ads, but developing your brand like a strongly business model. If you working about that, if you're working on your mindset, you stay strong and everybody stay together with you. The pretty good mindset for you entrepreneur, from your team, from all your clients, because you build, when you have this in your mindset, you build a community around your products. This is a extremely secret sauce.
Max, you said it right there, man. So a few years ago, when I first moved to Brazil, I wanted to figure out who are all the players around Brazil. And I read an article on LinkedIn by Roberto Zabel, who was a managing director at Latin America Angel Society. Right now, one of our investment partners is Latin America Angel Society through Marco De Biasi, who is the director of the Founder Institute in Sao Paulo. Great guys, you know, invested with us several times now together in companies. And Roberto Zabel wrote this article that just stayed with me till today, and I'm still trying to wait for this to be unproven. And Max just explained a big part of this. So he said there are 3 ingredients in excellent startup teams. These teams are humble, curious, and resilient. So through humility and curiosity and resilience, you're able to build a great company, right? So again, you're looking at that growth mindset. It breaks down to these 3 different ingredients, right? And if you take those 3 ingredients and you really work those in yourself, then you probably have like a better chance. And there might be some people here listening right now, you're like, oh, you're not talking about investments, you're talking about this and that. But this is about investment, right? If I'm going to take a bet on you, like Ricardo said, I need to bet on you. So if I'm going to make a bet on you, I'm not here to gamble in playing roulette. I'm here to play poker. So in poker, there's much less chance and more skill than is in roulette, you know, a game of chance there. So if I'm playing poker, I want to make sure that I've got some of those minimal ingredients in my hand before I want to basically go all in or make a bet. So Ricardo, tell us a little bit more about making bets on entrepreneurs here.
Yeah, I love the comparison, Nima. I think it's perfect. We say that in different stages is more of an art, in others is more of a science. And a science is when you have some numbers and you can see what is happening, and you have a lot of statistics there to play with. And art is more like on the human side. You need to know the team, you need to have that empathy with them, you need to figure it out, like imagine how they're going to be doing the future and share the vision with them. So it's actually a lot of talking, much more than running a due diligence, right? And I think when you say it's more about poker, because you don't have the numbers sometimes, but you know how to do it. Even with art, right? You have creativity, but you have process, because with only creativity, you don't get those pieces of arts done in the proper way, right? So I think it's a lot on how we do it. And I totally agree with these three different things. And growth is a trendy word. Like at Facebook, I was part of the growth team. So growth was everywhere. But in fact, when we talk about the startups, they need to find growth, but how they survive is by evolution. They need to evolve every single week, right? So they need to be open and they need to test and fail. It's like the nature. But it happens like what in the nature will happen in 10 million years or billions of years. The startups will have to do it in 3 months. So if you're waiting for a month for something to happen, you're never going to get there. It's daily or weekly mostly, right? So I think that's a little bit on how we bet. It's a lot about mixing science with art, and then the empathy that we can have with the teams. I totally agree with Matsuda as well. You need to find founders that they really know the problem. They have that something else that they understand. They're seeing something that others aren't, but sometimes they don't even know how to tell you the story. And what Mark was saying, like they need to come and tell the story. Don't be afraid. If you need to tell the story 3 different times so we can understand the thing that you're seeing, that we'll do it.
Wow, that's exactly it, man. Evolution. I love that. It is about the evolution, right? So if you've got the growth mindset, and if you're humble, curious, and resilient, then you have a chance to evolve. And if we see you evolving, then we'll probably be more attracted to you, right? Like I mean, in my past life, so before when I used to build companies and invest in Canada, before I moved to Brazil, where I did like a reset, I made a lot of mistakes. I used to build companies based on a fixed mindset. I used to invest based on a fixed mindset, and I used to invest in people who were confidently with a fixed mindset. And I made too many errors. So I wanted to know what was going on, and I wanted to basically break it all down and start from zero. So going to Brazil was a reset for me. You know, I had to learn the language, learn the culture, learn everything from zero, and I took the opportunity to learn about startups again from zero. You know, doing it again, right? And I'm doing it again now. So I've got this like thing that I took from Jeff Bezos, and which is an actual Chinese proverb from way back, the day one mentality, right?
Exactly.
So day one, it's always day one. If you're building a startup, it's always day one. When you come to us and you tell us, and this is probably Humberto is one of, you know, I know Humberto hates this, and I hate it too. If an entrepreneur comes to me and it's, oh, everything's all good and done, and you know, I'm ready, and I've got this like best product ever, and everything's perfect and ready, and then it's like, well, how many customers have used it? None. Or thousands of people told me they like it, you know. So that type of like fixed mindset is what we're kind of like stepping out of. So evolution is more important. I was talking to a founder yesterday, and I was like, man, it doesn't matter if your company sucks right now. Actually, I got to introduce him to you, Mac. It doesn't matter if your company sucks right now. What matters is how you evolve. How are you every week and every month showing progress? So Humberto, give us your thoughts about that, like these types of founders that you kind of like and the ones that you would not want to, deal with maybe.
Initiative is everything, right? Being self-motivated, it's probably one of the most important characteristics that we're always looking for. Also, people who are coachable. If you can't listen, if you can't discuss and play ball, I would say, right? It shouldn't matter who your investors are, so therefore probably you're looking for someone else. There's also a factor of being some level of enchantment. Eventually, you will have to be a leader. You will be in a position that you have to take everybody by their hands and push them towards unknowns, towards uncertainty, fears, and only good leaders can do that. And that's quite hard to get. And one thing I would like to add also in that list, it would be also the way that we relate to the entrepreneurs, right? So people who can understand the double carrots philosophy, right? One carrot in front of you attracting you, another carrot in your back, making sure that you're constantly moving forward, is the kind of relationship that eventually established between all the partners, all the founders and investors alike. Everybody needs to know their roles, and everybody needs to be able to cope with that and keep the things moving forward, right? That's why that it is not only important for the investors to learn how to choose and select the entrepreneurs, but the other way around is also very, very important. Dysfunctional investors can ruin a business, can ruin a project, can ruin a company. And it's fundamentally the entrepreneur's responsibility to make sure that the wrong investors are not joining the company.
Wow, you said it there, partner. You said it there, and I wanted to actually touch on that point because one of the reasons, guys, why I joined the Founder Institute and why we're building JUPTER is because enough with the subjectivity, enough with the fact that we need to basically depend on close personal relationships and favoritism and, as a cyborg, emotions in making investment decisions. So I was really keen on figuring out a way that entrepreneurs can self-select. Instead of a group of elitists deciding whether you deserve the opportunity, you can self-deserve the opportunity. You can build the opportunity for yourself. And I'm looking right now at a guy, I'm looking at this pretty faced Mac, who is one of those people, self-selected entrepreneur, self-development of your own opportunities. Like you're a guy who built his own opportunities all your life. And you keep coming forward and getting bigger and bigger opportunities because you built them for yourself, right? So Mac, what would you give us now that our time is finished, guys? I want to basically, it's almost finished. I want you guys to give like your final thoughts to founders. So what would you tell founders who are watching this, or investors even who are watching this right now? What are your final thoughts for them, and how would you like them to basically get in touch or build a startup?
First of all, I'd like it. We don't use buzzwords. We're really feeling this. We really learning it in using this every day. Is Ricardo? I worked with Ricardo 3 months ago, but Ricardo is so generous with me. So generous. I have a lot of mistakes and I have a lot of doubts. It's my first time working with the side of the investors. I know Matsuda because I was an entrepreneur. I was a founder. I looking for Matsuda find a little bit money to improve my company. So and he doesn't invest in me, but stay here with my friends. We start when a networking. We start our relationships. That's it. So the end of the day, Doesn't matter how much knowledge you had. It doesn't matter how much the budget you had in your school. The end of the day is if count how you impacting them, how you connecting people, how you make money, and how you stay standard. Because the end of the day, when evolution, when I talk about evolution or science, the end of the day, stay standard on your business. So my advice for entrepreneurs is stay standard, listen, be humble, and be resilient. It's not listen just a buzzword. Practice, practice, and make money is better for us. And my finished advice has a great article in the Venture City blog, and I do the version Portuguese. If somebody loves it, the name is Quick Ratio. The Quick Ratio is great for understand how we thinking, how you must be together or the other investors. So looking for study about this Quick Radio.
So Mac, awesome. Do you mind while Ricardo gives us his final thoughts, you put that into the chat, put a link into the chat there, so people can actually read that article and so they can apply. Go ahead, Ricardo.
Yeah, Ricardo is one of an author. Ricardo, explain a little bit more for us about the Quick Ratio.
Quick Ratio is a formula, very simple. We have some templates that you can use to get the numbers, but it's a mix of new users, returning users, and churned users. So you have the real fact if you're engaging users or not. Because users, they only look at one of the metrics, like a monthly active users, but they don't know if it's made of returning users or new users. So if you're investing too much on marketing and you're putting a ton of people, if you're always adding more people and increasing the marketing budget, you see a growing curve. But this is mostly made of your new users, while the returning users, if they stay still, they don't grow, it means that you don't have a product that has achieved product market fit. So that's one way for you to really prove. I know that proving product market fit is really hard, but that is one way that we tell founders to do it. And yeah, as a final note, just thank you, Nima, Matsuda, Paloma, that also helped. It's a pleasure to be here. I think the discussion was great. For investors there, let's keep investing. Let's give back to the community and help as we can. For founders, get in touch. So we're happy to help you in different forms in any way. If we can invest, we will. If we can't, we can do mentorship. We can recommend others. But I agree with Mark, building your network, even when you have just an idea, is very important. So don't forget about that. Build your product, try to get product market fit, find ways to get your customers, make money whenever possible, but don't forget to build the relationship with the ecosystem, including investors.
Wow, great words of wisdom there, Ricardo. Thanks for sharing the link, Mac. So Humberto, what are your final words of wisdom for the Jovians and friends out there listening and watching here?
Don't wait for the pandemic to end. The world will be moving forward very fast after it ends. So be prepared. Things should be kind of complicated, tricky, but for sure it will be only upwards. There's no way that we can go much further downwards in the spiral because of the pandemic. I think smart people will be ready, will be prepared, despite all the problems and all the difficulties that the pandemic is causing. Also, to be right in the mindset in your hearts. Doing the right thing can look can seem harder, but by the end of the day, the smarter people will know that you did the right thing and will recognize that. So take advantage, use that, use your heart, use your mind, and look forward, look always ahead. Don't be stuck in the past or in the present.
Beautiful. And, you know, I want to basically take this opportunity to thank all of you guys who have taken your time and your resources here today to be with us, as much as the panelists, also everybody else who's watching this. Thank you so much for